Good evening, and welcome to another befuddled version of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your bewildered and bemused host, Voice of Doom! People moving out, people moving in. Why? Why? Because the color of your skin. Run, 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 but you just can't hide. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Vote for me and I'll set you free. Bow, 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 bow. Ball of confusion. That's what the world is today. Hey, hey. Hey, hey. Classic song. Made famous by the Temptations and done very well by Love and Rockets and other people, I'm sure. Love it. Ball of confusion. That's what the world is today. Hey, hey. Okay, let's get on with this documents business because the plot gets thicker with bile, with excrement. More documents found, of course. And this time I guess it was at our beloved ex-vice president's house, Mike Pence. What a stalwart human being. Now, how were they found? Well, Pence was worried that since they're finding classified documents here and there and everywhere, that he didn't know if he had some or not, so he instructed his lawyers to go search his house. Now, I don't know what he expected to find or if he already knew they were there, but it just makes everything a little bit more confusing. And if you think for a minute that I'm going to rationalize some excuse for Iowa boy, Corn Man, to have documents that he shouldn't have, you are sorely mistaken. I will not do that. That would make me the biggest impunicrit of all time. So, no vice president is allowed to have classified documents, and if they have them in their possession, they are guilty of a felony. So they should be treated as such. I don't care what kind of haircut they have. So, arrest Pence, and arrest Petri Dish, and arrest Orangey. Now, I know you can't arrest Petri Dish, but you can start the ball rolling in an impeachment hearing, which should have happened already. So, things get more and more convoluted. And I will expound more on what the result of that will be. But the news media, and I will use that term in a way that quotation marks, there hasn't been news, not truth, in decades. They will report on shootings, and they will report on hurricanes, because it's hard to hide those things. All you have to do is send some guy out and let his tailcoats flap in the wind for a few minutes, and then there's your news. Okay, we've all seen that. There hasn't been any solid news reported in decades, not about anything that's happening in the so-called government. Now, there are people that are even on the mainstream media that are reporting news. And when you listen to them, they sound like conspiracy theorists. Because to report the real news, you would sound like a conspiracy theorist, because it's all horrible. The most horrible things imaginable are happening, and the government at large is guilty of every sin in the book. Starting from murder to mass genocide, to anything else you can name. Warmongering, extortion, influence peddling, just underhanded things, obfuscating and not governing for the interest of the people, not legislating with the people's interest in mind. So when you do hear people such as Tucker talking about JFK and talking about the Hunter Biden laptop, which you should watch his episode today. It's January 24th. You listen to his episode today and it's like, well, you're telling the truth, but you sound like something in one of those books about, the Illuminati. And I think what he's telling is the truth. I think that wayward son of Petri dish is rotten to the bone, and he is stupider than hell too. If he's the smartest person that Petri dish knows, then Petri dish runs around with a very mentally challenged group of people. Now, let's talk about this documents business, because it seems to me that they're not really too careful with classified information in the archives department and in the room where they keep the documents. They don't seem to care if they let people have them and then they disappear. So we have to start thinking about that. If there's classified documents, and let's talk about just words. I don't know anything about anything, but classified just means it's put in a certain category. So you can have classified documents that are talking about how many trees are being planted in Montana. It's classified under trees. So we don't know anything, and we never will know anything. But I will say one thing. They're letting things get so messed up that there must certainly be something bad coming. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that something outrageously, globally horrific is right around the corner. And the powers that be know it just as well as anybody else. And that's why they're letting things just be willy-nilly a big pile of crap. Classified documents, Ukraine, China, Afghanistan, do everything wrong, rampant crime, pushings, shovings, hammerings. Everything is free game now. It's a wide open field. It's a free-for-all because they know the end is coming. And not the end like an apocalypse comet striking the earth. Not everybody is going to die. There's going to be survivors. And we either build a better world from the rubble, or we go at each other like rats in a cage. But it's not a very pleasant one today, but I'm getting a little miffed with all this document business and how this so-called government can send up satellites that can look up my nose. They can, see every follicle of my head. They can't figure out the smallest things, like who leaked a court ruling from the Supreme Court. We just can't figure it out. How can you not figure it out? A newspaper got it. You go there and you say, how did you get it? I can't tell you. It's freedom of the press. Well, you're going to tell us because you're going to be arrested as accessory after the fact or whatever. Well, somebody left me a note anonymously. Okay. Still, certain people had access to that information. Certain people could make a copy so they can slip it under the door of some lib mouthpiece. So you interview them and you say, and one of them is lying. And you just damn well find out who it is. But you don't really want to, so you let that go. Now, how do documents get into Pence's and Petrie's and Orange's houses? Someone carries them there. Now, I'll tell you one thing. If I was a vice president or a president, I'd do a much better job than any of these guys. But if I was, and I was ousted from office, or I served my term, I would leave with my own belongings and nothing else. I would not want any documents in my house from the administration that I presided over. None. Don't bring me anything. I'll take my pictures, photo albums, take my record albums, take all the stuff I came into the White House with. The White House is not a permanent residence, and people come and go. And if I was an occupant, I would not want anything that wasn't mine. Nothing. That's just me. But somehow these boxes of documents get in all these people's houses and garages and in little think tanks and little Chinese opium dens. I don't know. And they end up there. Now, the archives better get their act together and start figuring out a way to keep track of those documents. Otherwise, just let everything go. And if you don't tell the truth and you try to hide and say, we don't know how. How did those boxes get in my garage? They've been there for 6 years. I've never really looked in them. Now, come on. If you don't tell the truth, at least some of it, then people make up their own truths, and then you have your stupid-ass disinformation, and then you have people being banned, people being arrested for saying certain things on the internet that are disinformation or that are hate speech. You copy lyrics from songs and put them on the internet and you could get arrested. It happened in England. Looked in my feeds and I saw a whole bunch of interesting stuff. 3,300 people arrested in England since 2018 for content on their channel, whether it be YouTube or what have you, or Reddit or Doggit or, F it. So, I don't have much to say on this one, and I think I said quite a bit. I think I'm getting back into the swing of it. And I'm going to do another diatribe, God willing, on something more innocuous next time, unless there's breaking news, because I wanted to do something. I'll give you a little cliffhanger. I'm going to talk about radio talk show and television talk show people that I've watched throughout my life and listened to. Give a little critique, give a little overview, and it should be interesting. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. So, until next time, cheers and l'chaim to life, and good night.